Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Esports exclusive podcast. I'm your host, Trey Hensing, and this is my co host, James Shipman, and we are here to talk about all things esports. First up today, we have the World's League of Legends play ins happening this weekend, and boy, am I excited for that. We have 10 teams competing in these group play-ins. We have Group A being Team Liquid, Mad Lions, Legacy Esports, Supermassive Esports, and INTZ. And then in Group B, we have LGD, PSG Talon, V3 Esports, Unicorns of Love, and Rainbow 7. Boy, do we have some good teams here, and boy, do we have some not so good teams here. Starting up, we have LGD out of the LPL. They are probably the best team coming into Group A here, or coming into Group B here.
Group B.
Sorry, they look very, very strong. Throughout the regular season, we saw them be pretty commanding over there, just not in that top three with Suning, Top, and JD. They have really good laners in GA and Longshan, and they just have massive outplay 1v1 potential up there in top and mid lane. So expect them to be very, very strong in those lanes and expect them to play through those lanes. If their lanes get shut down, they're not going to look that great. Their bot lane isn't as strong as other bot lanes in this tournament. Their top and their mid lane are super, super devastatingly strong. They're my favorites to come out of this group, and they are rightfully going to make it out of this group in play-ins. Following them, we have PSG Talon coming out of the PCS here. They look very, very strong as well. Not as strong as LGD, but they were very, very competitive with J-Team, Machi, and AHQ Esports Club over in Hong Kong region. And they had a 14-5 record in the regular season. That's pretty difficult to do in that region. They won a 3-0 series in the grand finals. Pretty good. You know, they're just all around a pretty good team, pretty good squad. My only concern is Hanabi up in the top lane there. He did look very, very weak in that grand final series. So hopefully we'll see him bounce back here and be pretty competitive. Hopefully they can maybe take some games off LGD, but probably not. I think LGD probably still wins that game when they play. Moving on over, we have V3 over in the Japanese league, and V3 probably a pretty solid third-tier team here. 12-2 in their summer split, but the LJL isn't really as competitive as these other two regions, so they look pretty good. Boogie in the jungle looks absolutely fantastic when he gets on carries like Lilia. Lilia is absolutely probably his best champion right now, maybe aside from that Graves. That Graves looked pretty strong as well. Archer and Rain in the bot lane, they look pretty strong duo. Probably one of the better duo bot lanes in this group. Reyna plays really, really hard engaged champions like the Leona and the Pantheon, whereas Archer likes to play his Archer and Ashe. So, pretty strong laning phases that they have there. Looking for them to place third. Their skirmishes and their fights did look a little sloppy in their grand final series that they took. So, look for them to probably be third. Maybe they have some upset potential, but probably just a solid third place. They probably will not make it out of this group, unfortunately. Then moving on to the LCL, we have Unicorns of Love. And Unicorns of Love, they're very hard to do research about, honestly. The LCL isn't really that well-known of a league. So if anything, they're going to have some pretty decent upset potential just because of their dark horse factor where they could pull out some tricky stuff. They have that ability to kind of fly under the radar unless the coaches on those teams are actually taking it seriously and actually doing their job like they're supposed to and actually doing the research. Other than that, they didn't really look that strong in the LCL. In the LCL Grand Finals, that is. Throughout the season, I think that they were undefeated pretty much throughout that regular split. But coming into the Grand Finals, it kind of looked like they weren't taking it very seriously. They drafted sort of meme comps that didn't really look that great. And they could have very easily lost that series. Their game one that they took was a very big throw from Gambit, and then they kind of just used that momentum to win them the game. They ended up losing a game against Gambit there. So they didn't look super strong, but they did look good enough to make it here. So maybe some dark horse potential. I don't think that they make it out of groups here, and I don't think that they perform as well as you would maybe hope from someone that went undefeated in their respective region. And then finally in this group we have R7, and R7 is the Latin American representative in this group. And they probably won't be competitive. They didn't look very good in their region. 8-6 in the region. They were behind all nights in the regular season split. They went down 0-2 in the series, and then they ended up reverse sweeping, which shows some really good mental fortitude. But we're playing best of ones in the world's play-ins here, so I don't think that they're going to have that ability to sort of have those rebound potentials and have that mental fortitude to come back. They're going to need to be able to come out swinging, and I don't really think that they will. Asai up in the top lane, he looked very weak in their series that they took against All Knights. He got absolutely stomped in the first two games, and in game three he sort of started to bring it back, but really he didn't have as good of a showing as you would have liked to see here. So I don't expect them to really even win a game in this play-in stage, but it'll be good world experience for these players, and hopefully they can come back next season as well. James, your thoughts on Group B? Anything fun out of there?
Not a whole lot. It just looks like a lot of I don't want to say miss. It looks like a whole lot of interesting shenanigans that could happen with some really interesting teams. It looks like R7. I'm not too into League, but it looks like R7 was not was Rec. Was that right? Because I see their logo and it has reciprocity above it.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
were they
Yep. That's the reciprocity one.
okay?
Yep.
That's pretty interesting. Just overall, it looks like a bunch of interesting teams that are going into this Group B column. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top, because looks like it could be a lot of the top three. I don't really know about Unicorns of Love or Rainbow Seven.
Yep. Yeah. Those two are definitely going to be your um, interesting teams where you could see some very interesting comps that might surprise one of the top teams there. But other than that, I think it's going to be a very straightforward group with LGD, PSG, and V3 being your top three. LGD and PSG moving on out of your two more or less major regions there, out of the LPL and the PCS. So I think that's going to be more or less where you see that group shake out. Then moving into Group A, I think we have a slightly more interesting group here. I think we have a little bit more of an even teams potentially in that top three. But first, out of the Brazilian region, we have INTZ, and INTZ is probably going to be your weakest team in this group. They really did not look great in that Brazilian finals against Pain. They did manage to take it 3-1. Redbert was playing fantastic in Protect the Carry comps. Him on that Tom Kench just looked absolutely devastating. So I don't expect him to be able to get a lot of those Tom Kench sort of games, or if he does, you're going to have to probably bully that pretty early. Shinny in the jungle is probably my biggest worry from this team. His decision-making didn't seem to be on the same page as the team all the time. He was giving up first bloods, particularly in Game 1 in the mid lane, where he just sort of ran out his set and went into a 1v3 on level 1, which didn't make any sense to me. So I think that his decision-making really needs to shape up if they're going to make any sort of splash in this group, but I don't think that they will. And that'll lead us over to Supermassive, who is our Turkish representative from the league, from the world stage. And they looked fine. They didn't look great. They didn't look terrible. They played consistent. They played pretty basic League of Legends where, they were playing through Zeitnot, the ADC in the bot lane. And Kakao is an aggressive jungler that likes to spiral his lanes early. So he was trying to make plays around on the Hecarim and other champions like that. And so I think that they could very easily have some upset potential here, but probably not. I think they're probably more so going to stay down there, probably beat INTZ pretty easily. Other than that, I think that they will struggle decently hard here. Legacy over in the OPL. Legacy's actually a team that surprised me a decent bit. They looked good for a team out of the Oceania region. Tapoon up in the top lane. He looked fantastic the entire series pretty much. He just has the ability to overtake and just completely overthrow the game and put the game on his shoulders. Especially in Game 3, we saw him be 2-0-1 in 4 minutes, which is absolutely incredible. After he had a weak performance in Game 2, albeit, but for him to be able to bounce back like that and have that map presence in 4 minutes into the game, he looked very, very strong. And Legacy is a team that I actually do hope has some upset potential here. They can swap out their mid laners from Tally to Halo, but Tally looked much better than Halo. It looks like Tally is much more self-sufficient in that bot lane, much more able to hold his own there, and is really able to just, you know, hold his own, stay alive, and let the team play through uh, Tapoon up in the top lane there. So hopefully we see more Tally than we do Halo, and hopefully Legacy actually makes a splash here at Worlds. Um, then we're going to move into our two major regions here in NA and EU. Mad Lions. Mad Lions looked super strong, devastatingly strong in the first half of the summer split. And then they sort of started to fall off at the end of the series, or at the end of the season, going 3 for 6 in their last 6 games, not including playoffs. Getting to playoffs, and then they lost to G2 and Rogue in the playoffs, which G2 and Rogue are absolutely phenomenal teams. Don't get me wrong, but for a team that started off so strong in Mad Lions, I was really hoping that they would have more of a splash in their summer split playoffs and not have to play through these play-ins and have more of a team like G2 who didn't really look as consistent have to go through these play-ins, but then G2 ended up winning the summer split there. So G2 actually did turn it around pretty heavy, and I'm hoping for a very similar turnaround out of Mad Lions in this world play-in stage, because God forbid that they don't make it through this play-in stage and they go home empty-handed after having such a strong start to the split here, after looking like such a promising team out of EU, and then they've fallen off. But I really hope that they actually can bring it through. I hope that Shadow, their jungler, can actually turn it around and have a really good play-in stage. And I think a lot of these teams in the play-in stage will be good confidence regainers. Help them rebuild that confidence just to get back to where they were at the start of the split, because they really didn't look that strong at the end of the split. But I'm hoping that that's more of just a confidence issue and that they're actually much more able than they showed to compete at that level. And then finally on to Team Liquid in this group, and Team Liquid were assumed to be the NA favorites coming into the playoffs. They were the number 1 seed. They had bested Cloud9 at that number 1 spot. Cloud9 ultimately not qualifying for playoffs, which is probably the biggest disappointment out of NA this year. The first time in NA, or the first time in Cloud9's Esports history that they haven't made League of Legends Worlds, either through play-ins or just qualifying outright. But that team looked so promising at the start of the split, and just shows you how hard one team can fall off and how devastating that fall off can be. Kind of similar to Mad Lions, but Mad Lions were actually able to make it to the World's play-in stage. So Liquid here, they looked very, very strong in their playoffs, ultimately falling to FlyQuest and TSM here. It was honestly kind of upset losses to TSM at the very least. TSM, I did not have personally winning the NA Summer Split. I don't really know if many people had them over FlyQuest or Liquid here. They had Tactical in the spot of being the number 1 rookie in NA this year. Kid was playing absolutely fantastic in the bot lane there, and behind MVP Core JJ in the Summer Split. You really thought that they were going to do something very, very big in NA there and be very commanding coming into this world stage, but they really didn't look that great in the playoffs. Now, albeit both series went to Game 5, so it's not that big of a deal, but I do think that you should have some concerns here if Core JJ plays like he did in those playoffs where he wasn't that MVP Core JJ. He wasn't making those plays for Liquid that we know that he can. He was still playing well, but he wasn't playing at that MVP level that we saw throughout the regular split. So I want to see Core JJ really come alive in this World's play-in stage, and I want to see tactically more picks like the Kalista, like the Jhin. They seem to have him on Ashe a lot, which, albeit Ashe is a great pick right now, but Kalista and Jhin are much more of those playmaking, take over the game kind of champions. Whereas Ashe is more of just kind of that supporty ADC where she can get that engage with her Celestial Arrow, and she can really just, start that engage, but she's not really the end-all be-all of the engage, much as, the Jhin is with his 2,000 plus damage crit. So I think that overall Liquid will make it out of this play-ins group with Mad Lions. I don't think that there's too much potential for upsets here unless Mad Lions or Liquid really fall off, but I think that both of them will have that mental composure, gain their confidence through this play-in stage, and ultimately make it through to the group stage here. James, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I kind of want to see some teams really push each other to the limits. I want to see Mad Lions or whoever. I want to see them take Team Liquid on, and I want to see them really battle it out, because I like Team Liquid. I like that org, and I want to see them do really well. And I want to see the team in this Group A really push them to their limits and try to make them a better team. Being an A fan and all.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that if any team is going to push Team Liquid, it's probably going to be Mad Lions, and hopefully we can expect Legacy to come out and actually, perform really well here, and maybe even take a game off of Mad Lions or Liquid there. So be on the lookout for those games, but I think that's going to wrap it up for the world stage here. Let me know in the comments if you guys actually agree with any of my predictions here, any of my thoughts, disagree. Let me know, and I'll get back to you. So I think we're going to move on to James with some Halo updates, right?
Yeah, so currently in the Halo world, as we all know, Halo Infinite's been delayed till 2021. So with that has caused some issues within the competitive side. So we have, the PC, we have Halo 3 relaunched on the PC. That was all fine and dandy until everybody was once again saying hit reg's not right. This isn't how it is. So recently, actually Tuesday, they pushed out an update which gave us the new hit reg, the new good feel of Halo 3 online, which is a really good new update for the game because it actually does what it says. It gives you that good update to the hit reg, where we have bullets hitting a lot better, a lot more, you know, damage being done, which is good. But then again, all the turns before this, we didn't have this update, which really caused a fuss in the community. So when Tashi came out saying, "Look, guys, we're going to split the community," not really, but he didn't really say that. But we want to give the tournaments to H5 and H3 and take some back time so we can focus more on Infinite. I personally think that's a good idea due to the facts that Uh, there, I personally don't think that we need broadcasted tournaments. That might be a little bit crazy, but I, as a competitor, just would want to compete just to compete. I don't care about being shown. All I want to do is get first. So it's like, I mean, it's cool to get known and people to see that, but I want my competitors to know about me, not the viewers right now. Like
Right.
I want to build up my own hype. So
Yeah.
I get where people are coming from being frustrated. That's like, well, why isn't it on Halo 3 anymore? Because they pushed the update. It's just things like that.
And I think a lot of that frustration is going to come from, players want to be exposed to a new audience, but at the same time, the players
Hmm.
have to take it upon themselves to sort of branch out and start making that content and getting their name out there. Sort of like, people like Ninja, who actually branched out and started streaming and, blew up really big. He came from the Halo scene. He was a Halo pro for many, many years before being a professional streamer full time. So, um, I think that a lot of that the issue with not having a broadcast is not getting known out there. And
Right.
I do hope that they start having some more broadcasts prior to Infinite's release. Just because you do want to get that spectator side really refined and buffed out before your
Hmm.
new game. So I'm hoping that they do get back to having some spectator esports events here soon. But for right now, I think with the Halo community being divided between Halo 5 on Gen 1 Xbox Ones that came out in 2014
Yeah.
versus Halo 3 on PC with the new hit reg update. But we've played H3 for however many years now. So Halo 3 is starting to get stale, whereas Halo 5 doesn't perform as well anymore. So it's sort of just a back and forth waiting game until Halo Infinite does eventually drop uh, next year. We don't know when next year. We just know that it is next year. And so, yeah, that seems to be about it for Halo for now. Now we're going to move on to the COD bubble system. The COD League, the CDL, its inaugural season just ended a couple weeks ago with Dallas Empire taking that COD champs ring home. The ring was beautiful. The trophy was great. Everything about the CDL seemed to succeed this year, which is really, really promising for the COD scene in general. The viewership was fantastic even with it being an online league. We had a couple LAN events, and then COVID-19 happened, so we couldn't really keep those LAN events happening. The league decided to move it to an online league, which, albeit not the best system, because we did have problems with lagouts, and we did have problems with connection, and we did have problems with some teams having a better connection than the other team, so there is a
Hmm.
slight competitive advantage there. But at the same time, they at least got the league out. They got the league to do what it was supposed to do. They got exposure to the game. It was overall so good for the COD scene. And now that 2021 is rolling around and the new game is coming out soon, they're starting to have talks about the next year of the franchise league, which is uh, going to happen here soon. And they're talking about a potential bubble system, which is very similar to how the NBA does it, where they have a hub city like New York, Vegas, somewhere in there. And they have all of the players there in their own confined space so that they don't really have outside interaction. And they get tested regularly to make sure that they're not actually spreading the disease in there. And they can actually play on, or they can play on land there, and they can, have these events that they were wanting to, but they won't have that spectator side. But they can at least have the events from a broadcast perspective the way that they want to, and they can have the events from a competitive integrity perspective the way that they want to. With eventually, hopefully, we actually get fans in the stands there because right now we're having like the NFL is kicking off. We have fans slowly and steadily starting to get into the crowds there. So hopefully we actually start to see fans in stands next season, and hopefully we actually get to have this LAN league. I know that a lot of the COD pros, or a decent amount of the COD pros, have been kind of adamant about not having a bubble system because they don't want to get uprooted from their daily life now, just to go play COD every day. But at the same time, uh, you sign these contracts, you're making this big money. If the league decides you got to go to a bubble system, you got to go to a bubble system. But I understand the concerns from both sides. So, James, anything you want to add about that bubble system there?
It, I think it's a really interesting concept because you throw all these players into a bubble and they just compete, and I think that's a good idea. And I would have kind of liked to see that happen because I think that would have given some players a better opportunity, whereas they didn't have the good connection as some other players. You could have seen different players shine in different aspects, and it would have been really interesting. Maybe some players like struggle, and you don't see that, but online is online. You have those problems. It's got to face, and sometimes it's really rough, and sometimes it really sucks. So
Yep. I think we saw that most with the Optic Gaming team from this last season, where they were constantly complaining about connection.
uh,
Most notably, Kenny lagging out in their series in
mhm.
COD Champs. So it didn't end up costing them the series, but it did end up affecting them where they went to that Game 5 stressful series where they had to pull in Dashy to come through on that S&D. But hopefully we do see some sort of LAN system implemented this next season, and hopefully we can all start being smart and get this COVID thing out of the way here with proper sanitation and everything like that. Everything good.
Right.
And I think our last point is some Fortnite news, some Fortnite competitive struggles, actually. Some struggles with the competitive Fortnite scene, where last year we saw that Fortnite World Cup take place. Booga took home that trophy. But this year the Fortnite scene is completely different, where now they're having a bunch of mini online events where they're not having those big names all in the same lobby fighting each other. It's more of just anyone can compete and anyone just joins a playlist. Which from an outside perspective, it sounds like it's a good system, where it lets anyone play, but at the same time, we have had reports of cheating in that, and players climbing the ladder unfairly by kill boosting and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
so I think that there's upsides and downsides to everything. Obviously, from a spectator perspective, having all of those top tier players in the same lobby and having them all on the same battlefield, fighting each other, taking smart fights, taking really really nice build fights. It's going to be better from a spectator perspective. Right now, it's really really hard for spectators to follow all of their favorite pros, where you'll have to tune into one stream and then you'll have to go check on another player's stream if you want to follow two or three or four or five. Because there are those big lobbies in Fortnite where you can have tons of top players that you want to keep track of, but without having a very ironed out spectator system where you have a mainstream that's following all these players to help you follow them. You have to go do it yourself, and that's really difficult from a spectator's perspective. On top of them also having online server issues where the servers have just been going down in the middle of these tournaments. So it seems like it's optically, from an outside perspective, it seems like that these online open to anyone events would be a great idea for thousands of dollars, but at the same time, it opens you up to so many risks that it doesn't seem like the Fortnite community is actually liking it as much as they should be, or as much as Epic thought that they would be. So, James, from your perspective, how would you take that as a competitor, or how do you take that as a competitor in
I,
these scenarios?
you know, it's a real struggle to see a cheater prosper in a competitive aspect because at no stance do you want that. You want like the most even fair playing ground that you can. So when you see this person just jump into a lobby and they start racking up these kills and they're climbing these ladders, it's very unfortunate. And the only way to really get past that is, I suppose, have a very good anti cheat or IP ban. I guess I don't know. it, it's a real interesting topic to tackle because cheaters are so abundant in PC games and they just pop up all the time.
Yep. And we have seen Epic be pretty decent about these bans whenever they can find the cheaters, with the likes of FaZe Jarvis being banned for. I don't know if it's an indefinite ban or
Right.
if there is a timed ban on that, but I think it might be an indefinite ban until Epic, lifts that ban on him because he tried to play Fortnite a couple days ago, and well, he was banned in 15 minutes. I think the time was. I think he speed ran the ban system in Fortnite and was banned within 15 minutes. So Epic has been trying to keep up, but I think that BRs are very, very hard to have that correct anti-cheat system in there. We can also see that with Warzone, where they actually don't have an anti-cheat system, and a lot of people like Nick Merckx are calling for Infinity Ward to actually take it upon themselves to make it clear that Warzone is something that they actually care about, and they want to get the cheaters out, and they want to make it actually viable. So I think cheating in this online COVID era of esports is probably going to be a big talking point in the coming months. So I think only time will tell how each developer wants to deal with these cheaters, but I think having some sort of system like Valorant's anti-cheat system might honestly be the way to go, where some people are saying it's overkill, but in a competitive esport, you want to have the certain knowledge that everyone is on the same playing field and it's coming down to someone's individual skill, not an
Correct.
aimbot aiming for them. So I think that's going to wrap it up from us here today, James. Anything else you want to add?
None that I can see.
Perfect. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy this, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We will be putting out more content for sure. Thank you guys so much. You can follow me at FadeRips on Twitter. You can follow James at TitanJS on Twitter. I will link both of those in the description down below. So thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.